E, good morning. At least I thought I saw Andy on here, or Andy was on here. What's up, man? Good to see you. Good morning. And yes, girls are doing fine. One girl had a cough there for a day or two, and she's doing good now. So everything's back to normal, so to speak, in the household. So thank you for your concern about that there, Andy. Appreciate that, buddy. Appreciate you. I've got a big old mosquito hawk in here today. But good morning. Good morning. Good to see you. Of course, this is Physical and Financial Fitness with Patrick, where we come to you live from my little garage gym in the morning, 6:30 to 8:38 a.m. Pacific time, and we talk about physical fitness or financial fitness. And today, we're going to be talking about the 5 ways to earn money utilizing mortgage notes as the vehicle. Because just like there's a lot of different ways where people can earn money in real estate investing, from wholesaling to house flipping to landlording to you name it, right? There's a lot of different ways people can actually skin the cat in real estate investing. And most people don't realize that there's a lot of different ways that you can actually monetize note investing. So that's what I figured we talk about. Good morning, Andy. Girls are doing fine. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate your concern for sure. But yeah, they're doing fine. My girl just had a cough, a nasty cough for like 2 days. But she's all good now. And that's what happens, man. Kids go hang out with kids, isn't that crazy? My child had a birthday, so we took her over to the trampoline park, you know what I mean? And then, of course, at the trampoline park, she's contacted all these kids at this birthday party, jumping around the trampoline, and who knows what these kids end up with. But, yeah, it is what it is. Kids get sick, and their little immune systems are building up and such, and they get sick. And so, yeah, my daughter had some sort of a cough and a little bit of a fever, not bad. And so we got her all better, and everything's good there. But today I figure we're going to talk about 5 different ways to make money with mortgage note investing, because there are certain different ways to skin the cat, right? You can wholesale in real estate. You can flip houses. You can act as a landlord. You can do Airbnb. You can do Section 8. What else is there, right? So there's so many different ways people look at it and say, hey, you can make a lot of money in real estate several different ways. Is that right? So I'll show you guys several different ways where you can make money in note investing. And it's leg day. So leg day for me, is like the most hated day in the gym because I got a really bad knee, but we got to push through that. I cannot skip leg day entirely, because legs are really important. Legs are important to your health, and legs are also important to your golf game. And I play a lot of golf, right? So we got to have good legs, good back. It's all a part of it. And so today I figured we would do some simple stuff as far as leg exercises is concerned. We're going to get that crack-a-lackin'. We'll set up some squat racks here, and we got my flimsy leg bench out. We're going to do some of those. And get cracking here just in a minute. But most people don't realize that there's a boatload of different ways to make money in notes. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different ways to make money in real estate, for sure. We know that. So we could name some of them if you guys want to put some of them in the comments. But let's put some of that in the chat and see how many ways are there to make money in real estate, right? We know there's wholesaling. What else is there, though? We know there's wholesaling real estate. And we could talk about what that means, what wholesaling really is. People don't get it. But we've got wholesaling real estate, which seems to be extraordinarily popular these days. Of course, everybody knows what being a landlord is. Yeah, renting, yep. So we know what that's all about. Renting out a piece of real estate to a tenant is one way that we can make money in regular real estate, right? Or shall I say traditional real estate. We can own a rental property. That's one way to do it. Yes, 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 Andy, exactly right. So flipping houses is another way. Of course, everybody knows about flipping houses. Okay. So we got renting, we got wholesaling, we got flipping houses. We're coming up with a bunch of them, right? I don't dare do the 45 today. Yes, I do, I guess. We'll get the big boys out. There you go. We'll get the 45s out and really make my bad knee mad at me today. Well, it's funny that doctors have said I should not do anything on my right knee. They're like, you don't need to do any impact exercises. Please don't play tennis. Please don't go snowboarding. It'd be pretty good for you if you didn't do any type of impact exercises whatsoever, in fact, because your right knee has zero cartilage on the bottom of the femur bone. That's the news I got, you know what I mean? So that sucks. Is what it is. You know, I'm gonna have to fix that here in a minute. That thing broke yesterday. And I haven't fixed it yet. But let's talk about it. My buddy owns, why does that keep doing that? I hate that. My buddy owns a condo building. Let's see what that said. And he's always having issues, pipes bursting, tenants, etc. Yeah, I mean, have you ever owned a rental, Andy, before? Have you ever had a rental property before yourself? It can be okay. It's certainly there are good tenants, right? We know that. It's not like I don't want to bash. I never bash owning a rental property. I own one right now in Kewanee, Illinois. I own one of those rental properties in Kewanee, Illinois. But so I don't bash rentals or traditional real estate ever. But there are some pretty cool ways to deal with making money in real estate. There are some pretty cool ways to deal with it without tenants. That's for sure. Because when you get a good tenant, man, and you get, if you have a property that's actually good to begin with, meaning your property is in good condition to begin with, and then you're lucky enough to get a really, really good tenant in there, then it can be good. It can be, okay? It can be. But yes, we do know that landlords are subject to certain rules these days, right? There's always new rules and regulations that are coming in for landlording and how you must treat your tenants and so on and so forth. So it gets a little hairy too. And I am now in a position financially to do something debt-free. Tell me what you mean by that. Tell me what you mean by that, Andy. You're now in the position financially to do something debt-free. What does that mean? You mean to buy a property outright without having any debt on it? Is that what you mean? That coffee just hits different this morning. I wonder if my wife probably got a new coffee. I bet you. A new brand of coffee or something like that. It's pretty good. Pretty good. It's got some sort of like a nutty or hazelnut kick to it, but what do you mean by that, Andy? That you are now in a financial position to do something debt-free. Elaborate a little bit. Does that just mean you're going to buy something without having to have debt on it or debt attached to it? And oh, okay, there you go. Cool. Meaning you are debt-free. Well, that's a pretty cool position to be in, isn't it? Debt-free is a great position to be in. A lot of people never actually attain that. A lot of people are in debt their entire lives. Debt slavery, yeah, they call it. And that there is a really good accomplishment, brother. Being debt-free is great. And I tell you this, Andy, there's good debt and bad debt, and that's another whole good conversation we could talk about for another day. Maybe I'll do that one tomorrow, good debt and bad debt. debt free is a great feeling when you don't have any bad debt, personal debt, that kind of stuff, right? They call that debt liabilities, right? So there's an interesting theory about that. That would be a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But debt liabilities versus debt assets. Debt can be a fantastic thing. In fact, most really wealthy people have tons and tons and tons of debt by way of leverage, but they don't have debt on items that are expenses or liabilities. So a lot of wealthy people aren't doing those leveraging to buy liabilities. They're leveraging to buy assets. Pretty cool. So good to be out of the bad debt, right? Good to be out of the bad debt, where instead of having credit cards and car payments and all that stuff that is making us a slave to debt, we can use debt as a tool, right? We can use debt as a tool for leverage. But that's really cool, man. Bad debt free. Good for you, dude. Feels good. It feels really good. I was one of those kids where in high school I created a whole bunch of credit card debt. I didn't quite know what I was getting myself into, but it sure was easy to spend someone else's free money on everything you needed. Take a gal on a date, pay your car payment, pay my rent, pay whatever it was. Boy, I was, woo! Yeah, I got, when I was a real young man, I got into the credit card debt. And boy, that was a mistake, but a good lesson. Good lesson. I don't use credit cards for personal purchases anymore. I only have credit cards for business. And I use them extraordinarily sparingly. I don't like to use credit cards at all. I cut mine all up years ago and never got any new ones because, bad debt can be suffocating for sure. Bad debt can be suffocating for sure. Hey, Andy, you know what? I'm thinking about starting this at 7 a.m. Pacific time instead of 6:30. Do you think that would be a better time? So I feel like a lot of people start hopping on more so around 7 a.m. And I could just get half my workout done without having to pay attention to this at first. And then I could bring people on at 7 when I'm already in the middle of my workout. Probably work out better for me anyway. Oh, that's cool. No, don't worry. Andy, don't worry, buddy. Just hanging on is good enough. And if you want to participate here just in a minute or whenever you can, that'd be great. Of course, I knew Overseas would come in with some things like this. Of course. Overseas Madman said, credit cards are good if you get 0% interest ones and use them until they increase. Yep, that's called leverage. Yep, that would be not getting into bad credit card debt. That would be called leverage. So good job. Yep, Overseas, not bad. Not a bad idea at all. Yeah. Even paid for your daughter's college. 4 years all paid for, Andy. Good job, man. You're killing it. It takes time for people to get going in the morning. Yeah. Well, I know people are on the East Coast, so only people on the West Coast, this would count for morning for them. For me, right? But I was thinking of doing it a half hour later anyways. Just come down here and start my workout, because oftentimes when I start the camera and I start talking, then I forget to start my workout. And I get going here, especially on leg day. Dexter would normally be on here making fun of me, saying, hey man, get to work. You're talking too much. But let's go over some we're gonna get this going, and I think with Overseas and stuff like that, that wasn't the point of my talk today. So totally get it. You think I think paying things off instead of keeping liquidity is dangerous. I'd rather a payment and a bankroll than zero debt and no liquidity. Yeah, it's a good point. Yep, it's a good point. But you're talking more of leverage Overseas, right? You're talking smart leverage, right? We were talking about good debt versus bad debt, and sometimes leveraging and having debt is good, but also it can be very bad, right? People that just buy consumables and they go out and buy things they can't afford and they get into debt is where we were heading with that. But that wasn't today's subject. So what we could talk about is this. I think a better discussion, which is something I get quite often, is people ask me how to make money in notes. That's really the most important thing we could talk about today, right? How to make money and stuff. Yes. He's winding up his bus. That was funny though, Andy. Him coming over and showing up in his little yellow bus was kind of hilarious, man. I was cracking up. So if you're just hopping on, we're going to talk about the 5 ways to make money in mortgage note investing. And it's different than real estate investing. And a lot of people always ask me that. People always ask me, how do you make money doing that? How can I make money doing that? So that's what we're going to talk about. Yeah, and I just know Dexter won't accidentally show up and start knocking on my garage door out of nowhere today because he's traveling. He's driving. He won't be back till Thursday. So bummer we won't get a visit from Dexter today, unfortunately. But what we're going to do is we're going to get into some legs today, right? So we're going to do some legs. I like to do some light warming up, so I'm probably just going to do some really light leg extensions at first, get the blood going in my thighs and get my knee loosened up. Because those of you that know me, know that I have 3 surgeries on my right knee now. My right knee has been down and out. Many years of soccer and a bad ACL injury took my right knee out pretty damn good. So I'm not really supposed to do much as far as exercising my legs by way of doctor's orders, but you know me. You know me. Doctors only know so much about your body, and they make recommendations, of course. Doctors are intelligent people, but I know my knee. I know what I can do with it and what I can't do with it. And guess what? I'm going to need a darn knee replacement anyways. So what the hell? Might as well use it up while I got it, all right? My fishing pole's up there. That's a good reminder to go fishing, man. We got to get out there and do some fishing. All right. So let me stick you guys over here and just get going on warming up my legs, because you know what's up. We got leg day today. My favorite day. What I want to do first is get in some all right, there you go. We're going to get in some leg extensions, guys. And you know what's up? The old ratchety leg extension machine, just like this, guys. Yeah? Just sitting down and doing some leg extensions. What we're going to do is get our legs warmed up and get my knee a little bit lubed up. And yep, we're using lightweight today. Yep, lightweight and focus on stretch. You're exactly right. My buddy has fake knees and he has serious atrophy from it. Yeah, that's why I don't skip the leg days. That's why I get out here and do it anyways. That's why I still walk. I still walk 18 holes of golf. I try to twice a week, and I try to walk 18 holes of golf. And I still play pickleball. I won't play tennis. I'll play pickleball, right? I won't play soccer, but there's some things I'll do and some things I won't do. I'll snowboard, but I'm not pulling 50-foot jumps over the gap anymore, if you know what I'm saying. Yep, exactly. Yeah, overseas, you're exactly right. Overseas is saying I can also support the extension. Never let my legs hit the bottom, right? All sorts of stuff. So I'm doing that overseas. Appreciate you, brother. So that's all I'm saying is I don't skip leg day, because some people would skip leg day and use an old past knee injury or old past surgeries or something as an excuse. They start to cater to that area, and then all of a sudden they have major problems. So I'm trying not to do that. I keep athletic. I keep balanced. I keep my left side, my right side, my up, my down, my legs, my arms, everything as strong as I can without causing major damage to that right knee. So let's talk about it, guys. Let's just get right into it, man. Enough blab. After a minute here, more people are going to be hopping on. And it gets sometimes it seems about 7 o'clock a.m., which is in a couple minutes that usually people more so start hopping on here. But let's talk about the 5 ways to earn money with mortgage notes. It's a really cool subject because honestly, that's what people are about, right? I don't think that most people understand whether or not they have a passion for real estate investing and what lane in real estate investing they would end up having a passion for. I think people just get into real estate investing because they see that that's where the money's at. And so it's getting into real estate investing to pick your lane in which you want to play in. So in physical real estate or in traditional real estate, there's a lot of ways to make money, guys, right? That's why it's very attractive. The Pace Morbys of the world and the instructors and the Ryan Pinedas and everybody that we've been watching for a while now in the real estate coaching business is teaching all the same stuff, right? Nothing's new. Nothing's new in real estate. So we were talking about, Andy was helping me out earlier in the comments. And if you're just coming on, say hi, say what's up. Let me know you're here. But we were talking about renting, flipping, wholesaling, Airbnb, Section 8, There's so many different ways to skin the cat in traditional real estate. And the same goes for mortgage note investing. And so I just was talking with my wife last night, and I said, I had a good talk about notes today, and I talk quite often about passive cash flow and financial freedom in that, because I really do truly believe it is the passive monthly cash flow that creates financial freedom for people. I don't think it's one lump sum of money that most people are chasing. I think that, it's like the people that save up $1 million for retirement, and they put the $1 million in a safe, low risk, account, because they don't want to lose their principal, and they're trying to live off of $1 million, right? And most people won't save $1 million anyways. But you save $1 million and you put $1 million to work at, say, 6%, which would be really good, and you're living off $60K a year. So for an individual that literally saves $1 million, which most individuals will not do in their lifetime, but let's say somebody saved $1 million, so they're retiring with $1 million fat cash, and they put the $1 million to work at 6%, and they're living off 60 grand a year. That's not a lot of money, guys. 60 grand a year to live off of, especially older people, right? Still have bills and stuff, but also have medications, doctors, this, that, and the other. So it's tough to live off that. So my whole thing was, right, why don't you just make $6,000 a month? Why don't we just make $5,000 or $6,000 a month in passive cash flow now? And then if you have $5,000 or $6,000 of passive cash flow coming in monthly now, you are equal to that of somebody that raised $1 million. Yeah, I know. If you can't live off of $60,000 a year, you're crazy. Could be, or it could just be, environment and where you live. The grifter uniform. Got my dad bod outfit on. My wife bought me this shirt a while back, and I thought it was a funny shirt. Dad bod. If you can't live off of $60K, you're crazy. Well, that is very subjective. Where do you live? Where do you live, Rob? What part of the country do you live in, Rob? And do you have a family and kids? So it's all depending on one's expenses. You live in Chicago? That's where my partner's from, by the way. My partner's out from Chicago. Years ago, he owned 3 Century 21 firms out there in Chicago. And, let me think. I'm trying to think if I've ever even been to Chicago, honestly. I don't even know if I have, man. I would love to go to Chicago just to see it. Just to see that part of the world. Chicago's where my partner's from. But, yeah, so you know what I'm saying, Rob? You know what's up? 60K? I mean, shoot, dude. Let's see. I mean, just my living expenses out here in California for the house is like $6,000 a month. So, I mean, just for my house out here in California and San Diego, for all my expenses to run the household, right? For my payment, gas and electric is probably like $6,000 or $6,500 per month. So you got it right there, guys. I'm already at 60 grand a year just for housing. So that wouldn't work for me. No way. So can't live off of 60K. No, no way you could live off of 60K per year out here if you had like the if you still had a mortgage payment and stuff in your retirement years. Well, Rob, I don't know, man. That could be true. I think Rob, you're making a good point and all, and I get it. But 60K, guys, it's not a lot of money. Okay, 60K a year is not a lot of money, and I'm not dogging that. If somebody wants to get by off 60K a year in their retirement years, great. If they can get by and that's their lifestyle, great. I know most people can't. Sometimes their medication's $2,000 and $3,000 per month just for their meds. Okay, so let's not get it twisted. 60K a year is nothing. Rob, Yeah, it's really not, but I bet most people don't have 600 bucks, bro. Well, it's a good point, man. And so that's why we're going to get into the 5 ways people can make money in note investing, because I believe that if somebody wants to have a side hustle on top of their existing job to make extra money, notes can be a really good side hustle. Super part-time, but people can make extra money, just like you can in real estate. And just like there's a whole bunch of different ways to make money in real estate, from wholesaling to flipping to Airbnb to ADUs to being a landlord and renting to Section 8 to all sorts of different stuff, guys. A bunch of different ways to make money in real estate. I'll tell you that. Newsom has to go. Okay, I'm in on that, David. But 5 ways to make money in notes. So, you guys, why do we think people get into wholesaling real estate? Well, I'm just doing some leg extensions here. That's awesome, Rob. You're a bearded brother. And what's crazy, and I know this hurts me and it hurts some of my bearded brothers and that, but I trimmed about an inch. I just recently trimmed about an inch or so, or inch and a half off this puppy. It was getting a little out of control. But I appreciate you. I appreciate my bearded brothers. Somebody told me once, do you know what it takes to grow a beard? And they said, there's 2 things it takes to grow a beard. I said, what? And they said, patience. And I said, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah, it does take a while sometimes. Patience. And he said, and a set of testicles. And I said, oh, okay, that's pretty funny. 2 things it takes to grow a beard: patience and a set of testicles. It was pretty funny. Anyway, I digress. But yeah, guys, let's just talk about it. Yeah, you got to maintain it, dude. I got the oil, the beard comb, and all that stuff. And in the mornings, I'm coming down straight out of bed. I'm getting my coffee. I'm coming into the gym. And so, you have a bedhead of the beard. If you ever had that, you slept on it the wrong way or whatever, and you wake up in the morning, it's a little discombobulated. And I come down here with my discombobulated beard and my ball cap on and so on, just to talk with you guys in the mornings, because hell, I'm down here working out anyway, so we might as well have a chat. But let's talk about it, all right? So, just like there's a bunch of ways to make money in real estate, there's a bunch of ways to make money in notes, and people don't sometimes understand that. So my wife said I should address that today, because I talk about note investing a lot, and I talk about maybe one way quite often of investing in mortgage notes for passive cash flow and financial freedom, and I talk about that quite often because that's what I preach, right? But there are other ways to make money with notes, just like there's a bunch of ways to make money in real estate. So the idea is, let's look at the note investing asset class, but break down a few different ways where we can monetize it for ourselves. Because that's what people are here for anyways, to how the hell do we make extra money? How can I get financial freedom? A lot of people listen to me because of that kind of theory, and I only usually teach really one direction with mortgage notes. So fair enough, my wife said, why don't you tell everybody all the different ways that you can make money in notes? People would probably love to hear that. So, okay, fair enough. What wifey says, husby's dues, okay? Husband's dues. So we're going to talk about that. I'm just doing my last little set of leg extensions here, guys. I'm just getting my legs warmed up, and then we're going to kind of continue on doing some legs while I chit-chat with you guys about this. But did you know Yep, you got to maintain the beard if you can grow the beard, that's for sure. But guys, let's talk about it. Did you know, guys, that you can broker mortgage notes, which doesn't require any money to do? It just requires expertise and relationships. So just like a wholesaler, right? What does a wholesaler generally do? A wholesaler in physical real estate tries to go and get, oh, Rob, see you, buddy. If you have to go, it was good having you. Come hang out with me and let's chat in the morning, 6:30 to 8 a.m. Pacific time. We're going to talk about all sorts of financial freedom related things here together. Chop it up. Be nice to have you back. Tap the little subscribe button and the little notification bell, and we can come hang out and talk investments and financial freedom here in the mornings. So let's talk about it. We know that we can wholesale real estate. And wholesaling real estate, why do people generally get into wholesaling real estate? That's a good question, right? Start with that question. Why do people generally get into wholesaling real estate? I think it's a lot of times because they don't believe that they have what it takes, and they can't get a hold of the money or get the financing to actually become a real estate investor. So they're trying to stack some cash. So that's why people wholesale real estate. Some people take wholesaling to a whole new level, right? We know that. But some people are just, as an amateur, trying to wholesale some real estate to make some extra cash, to stack some dough. So you can wholesale real estate, but did you know that you can also broker mortgage notes? So, talking about the 5 ways to make money with mortgage notes today, number 1 is brokering notes. You don't have to have any money. You just have to have expertise and relationships. And who do you think you'd have to build relationships with if you were going to be brokering notes for money? Because brokering notes could be a side hustle, something you do very, very much part-time with your full-time job, and you're brokering notes to make an extra few $1,000s a month at least, which helps, okay? So you can broker mortgage notes, and being a broker of a mortgage note means that you're not investing in the actual mortgage note itself. And so as far as expertise is concerned, your expertise only has to be at such a level in which you can make relationships with note sellers and note buyers. That'd be the key, right? So a good note broker builds relationships with note sellers and note buyers of all different types. Yeah, Andy's in Aurora, 45 minutes west of Chicago. There you go. So let's talk about wholesaling real estate versus brokering notes. Very similar. People do it for extra capital. But did you know that all you'd have to do in the note brokering space is you would have to make relationships with note sellers and make relationships with note buyers and try to build up a large database of note sellers and note buyers, become a trusted broker, meaning you make a relationship with the note sellers, letting them know why you're a valuable piece of the pie. Generally, a note broker becomes valuable to note sellers because a note broker has access to a lot of note buyers. So again, a good note broker for the first way, not the number 1 way, but for the first way to make some money with note investing is you could just broker notes. There's 3 things you got to be good at: building relationships with note sellers, building relationships with note buyers, and then creating a big database in which you provide value to based on the database, right? A note seller would go through a note broker because the note broker has relationships with a ton of note buyers. You see? So if you become a very important intermediary between note seller and note buyer, you don't have to buy the darn note. All you had to do was find the note. Okay? So building relationships with note buyers, building relationships with note sellers, and then finding the inventory to spread about that contact list. So a lot of note brokers, in which I've known a few that are very much worth their salt and took time to build relationships in the note investing space as a broker, were making very good money. $10,000 and $20,000 a month, just brokering notes, because they took the time to do what was important there as a note broker, which is build the relationships. So the first way you can make money with mortgage notes is just by brokering them. Just by brokering them. You don't have to buy any, you don't have to have money, you don't have to raise capital, you don't have to worry about any of that stuff. You can literally just make relationships with note sellers, make relationships with note buyers, add them to a big list and continuously build that list as thick as you possibly can. It's relationship based. And if you can become valuable to note sellers because you've accumulated a very large network of note buyers, then through your network of note sellers and note buyers, the bigger that network becomes, the more solid you become as a note broker and the more valuable become to people that are selling notes as assets on the marketplace. So you can become a note broker. All it takes is build relationships with note sellers and note buyers and then be able to find inventory. So that's all relationship based. And you can make pretty good money, right? There's people selling and buying notes on the secondary mortgage market daily. And so one may want to broker a note. It just means you put a note that's for sale in front of your buyer's list, get that note sold for or on behalf of the note seller. Also, all you do is advertise somebody else's asset for sale, basically, to your buyer's pool. And then you'll get some bids and sell that note. And if you sell somebody else's note for them, then they're entitled to pay you a broker fee. So you can certainly make some extra cash just by brokering notes, okay? That's one way to do it. Of course, that's a pretty easy route, sort of like people would consider wholesaling real estate is an easier route. All right. Yep. So when the legs have already gotten a little bit gummy after the warm-up sets, it's going to be a great day. but we'll stretch them out a little bit, especially my right knee. As you guys know, the right knee has 3 surgeries and is toast. So I got to make sure I give it a good stretch before we do any type of squatting and such like that. So get that cracking. So you can broker notes, guys. A lot of people get into wholesaling real estate. Reason they get into wholesaling real estate is because they don't really have to be a real estate investor yet at that point. Wholesaling real estate is they're getting real estate under contract and then putting it out to their real estate buyers pool and seeing if they can get it sold, and they make an assignment fee in between. Well, in case you can broker mortgage notes too, why not? You can build a good list of note buyers, a good list of note sellers, and be the intermediary. It's cheaper wholesale. Can be, yep. Except for some of these wholesalers now are adding ridiculous fees on top and trying to make a killing as an intermediary. There's a certain reason why note brokering or wholesaling is not going to be as fruitful as being a note or real estate investor. So we know that. But you can broker notes, so that makes it easy. What if, you put a note seller and a note buyer? So there's a note seller trying to sell their note. You know that person. You have a list of note buyers, and that's all you've done is created a relationship with note sellers and note buyers and build that list as big as possible. Then when somebody has a note for sale in your network, you're going to blast it out to your whole network. And, just by blasting out opportunity and building a network of note sellers and note buyers, you can become a fair broker, right? And you can make a couple $1,000 here, a couple $1,000 there, but who can't use an extra couple $1,000 a month? So you could be a note broker for sure. But that's the first way to make money with notes, is just to broker them. Pretty easy, pretty simple. Build up a network of note sellers, build up a network of note buyers, and be the intermediary. And what is your superpower as a broker? Your superpower as a broker is you take the time to build the relationships with the note sellers and the note buyers. That would be your main job. And build up a CRM or a database with a bunch of note sellers and a bunch of note buyers. And the bigger that list becomes of note sellers and note buyers that you can accumulate, the more valuable you become as a broker. So when a note seller, maybe like me, I get a note from my portfolio and I go to sell it, I may be saying, man, I could use a really good broker here to help me sell this note. And if a good broker comes to me and I know that they have a pretty big network of note buyers, then I will be willing to pay that broker a commission for sure if they can get it sold quickly. So there's an advantage to me going through a good note broker that has a very good pool of buyers, because I know they can help me get my notes sold very quickly. Yeah. Yeah, my right knee clicks every time you do a squat, or every time I walk up and down the stairs for that matter. My right knee has a nice click to it. I don't know what that meant, but hey, good morning to you. People are weird with their comments in here sometimes, isn't they, guys? Strange. But anyway, so you can broker notes, but here's what I tell people. There's little intricacies as you grow in a certain asset class, and these little intricacies can make or break. One of the intricacies is, if somebody was going to broker notes, that just means be the intermediary between the note sellers and the note buyers, they can make a broker commission. But did you know that a house flipper may be able to earn more money on a transaction than a wholesaler? Is that fair for me to say? A house flipper can probably earn more money than a wholesaler per transaction. Is that fair for me to say? Let's open this a little bit here this morning. What kind of morning is it out here in San Diego? Oh, bummer. It's going to be another beautiful day in San Diego. 90 degrees, I think, today or something. It was 90 yesterday. Holy schmoly. So, house flipper may be able to make more money per transaction than a wholesaler. Does it make sense? Wholesaler may be able to do more transactions quicker, so fair enough, but a house flipper, that's actually going to buy and own the property, fix it up, and then resell it is probably usually going to make more money per transaction than a wholesaler. So what I tell people in the note space is you can broker notes, and brokering notes is a good way to make side capital because all you have to do is spend the time to build relationships with note sellers and note buyers and create a large network, and that makes you valuable. And then you work with people who want to sell their assets and provide that information to your network, and you make money, right? So you can make $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 extra money just by putting a note seller and a note buyer together from your network, and they'll pay you a broker fee. So there's a way to make extra money right there. But as I might say that house flippers are able to earn more money than wholesalers per transaction, then I would also say that being a note flipper, because most people don't even know you can flip notes too, but being a note flipper versus being a note broker can make you more money per transaction. And it's just a difference of intricacy. So in a note flip, instead of just doing a contract and brokering the notes for a commission, then when you do a note flip, what you're doing is you are actually owning the paper for a certain amount of time. You're taking ownership of it legally by documentation, county recorder's office. You're taking ownership of an asset and then reselling it. So you're buying something and owning it, and then you're reselling it, which is different than putting a note seller and a note buyer together as a third party and being a broker of that transaction. Different. You would actually buy the note by way of paperwork and then resell it. So you're not brokering if you own something and then resell something. If you own it, then resell it, you're not brokering it, right? But the difference between a brokering of a note and a flipping of a note is just documentation. You've already found a note seller. You've already found a note buyer if you're going to be a good broker, right? You've already found a note seller who's selling a good asset. You've already found a note buyer who's got cash that's ready to buy a good asset. And as a broker, you're putting those two people together and letting them do a deal while you're stepped aside, and then they'll pay you a commission if they do a deal. So that's different. If I was going to spend the time to make those relationships and I was able to find a note seller with a good note for sale and a buyer that had cash available that wants to buy a good note, and I was able to do that anyways, well, as a broker, you were able to do that. So you've already done that. You built the relationships. Then I say just flip the note instead. By way of documentation instead, I would buy the note from the note seller and own it. And by the way, guys, if you own something like a house or a car or anything else, if you own it for 1 day or 1 week or 1 month, does it make any difference? Ant-Man, what's up? This is a super simple rack I bought. It's very, very, very cheap and inexpensive, and it's very small, but it kind of does the job, so it's all good. Got some pulleys on it. I can put a squat rack on there. It's a pretty cool little home gym, and it's really cheap and inexpensive, and it's tiny. Look how small it is. Touch both sides, no problem, but it's got racks, it's got pulleys, so it works good enough. But isn't that cool, though, that by way of paperwork, instead of brokering a note, now brokering a note, again, just putting a note seller that has an asset for sale and a note buyer together from your network, put them together, you step aside, they do a transaction, and normally there's going to be paid a broker fee to you if you've done it correctly, right? You're going to be deserving of a small lump sum of cash for allowing the brokerage to happen of that deal. Now, I say, if you're going to build the relationships like that, and you know a note seller that actually has a note for sale, and you know a note buyer with cash that's actually looking to buy a note, and you've done that, then I'm just saying by way of documentation, I would actually want to, by paperwork, buy the note and own it, even if it's only for a day or a week or a month. Does that make sense? So I want to buy it and own it, and then I want to resell that asset. I'm not brokering. I'm actually buying it and reselling it by way of paperwork. I'll take ownership, and then somebody else will take ownership. So you can actually make more money doing that per transaction. And there can be more spread made there besides just brokering the note. So as we're talking about the 5 ways to make money in note investing today, we talked about brokering, which is the easiest path of least resistance. All you're doing is building up a network of note sellers and note buyers and putting them together at the right timing, and they're going to pay you broker fee. I say, why wouldn't you be a note dealer or a note flipper instead, where you could actually take ownership of that asset and then sell it to somebody else, at least on paper, even if the ownership only lasts for a day, a week, or a month. But you've owned it and resold it. So that takes you away from being deemed a broker, number one, an unlicensed broker, let's say. So you're not brokering. You're actually buying an asset, owning it, and reselling it. You may say, how do you do that if I don't have money? Well, you know that I can get the buyer of the note the information on the note while I'm going through the transaction to buy it from the other buyer, and I can get somebody to table fund it, can't I? I can do stuff like that. I can get a short-term loan. Somebody talked about on here zero interest credit cards if you play that game properly. But the point of the matter is, guys, it's just the money business. There's a way to do it by paperwork, and it doesn't require you to have a bunch of money. But you can actually flip a note, take ownership of a note, and resell it. The cool thing about flipping notes sometimes is, you know how sometimes in the real estate market traditionally, a house flipper may get excited when they say, oh, it's a turnkey flip. And you guys know what that means when they say it's a turnkey flip? It means they don't have to do any work to it, really, right? They bought it, and they're going to just resell it pretty much in the condition that it's in now. They don't have to really remodel it or do a major construction to it to flip it. So that'd be like a turnkey flip in the real estate world. And of course, anybody who can make good money on a turnkey flip in the real estate world just loves it because they don't have to get in there with the contractors and the base moldings and the paint and replace the kitchen cabinets and all that stuff. So a turnkey flip would be pretty badass. Well, most of the time, guys, in a note flip, in an immediate note flip, of course, we don't have to do any repairs. I'm flipping paper. And the way that paper gets acquired is through documentation. So it's all paperwork. It's all notarization and recording in county record in the note space. So literally, I'm notarizing and recording documents to own something in my name, and then I'm going to resell it and have it recorded in somebody else's name. If you own an asset for a day, a week, or a month, you're not a broker. Does that make sense? You're not brokering something. You bought it, you owned it, and then you resold it. So that's note flipping, or what they might call being a note dealer, where you're dealing notes, not necessarily brokering them. So that's kind of cool, right? Good stuff so far. You can broker notes, or you can be a note flipper. Those are pretty much where people would begin, generally, because they haven't learned that skill quite yet of raising private capital at a good level. Now, people will broker or people will flip, and usually people broker or flip because the brokers and the flippers come into play where they don't have a lot of money of their own, and so they think that to start on the very bottom rung of the small flipping or wholesaling ladder. Yeah, Greener, I'm basically open for any questions, brother. I'm just here talking. I always just love talking with my audience while I do my little workouts here in the garage gym, so any questions are fair. I try to answer them as much as I can when my audience asks something. Well, that's not a good... that's not a good question, though. I don't answer those kind of questions, man. But if you have a real question, something worthy, we'll address you. But so the reason why people get into wholesaling and brokering, right? We understand that is because they believe that's the only possibility for them where they stand because they don't have a lot of money. So the third thing, if we're talking about the top 5 ways to make money in notes, number 1, the bottom of the rung is brokering, where you're just putting note seller and note buyer together and they're paying you a fee for the connection. That's a great thing to do, right? So your whole job there as a broker is build up relationships and a database of note sellers and note buyers. That's pretty much your main job. And the bigger your list of note sellers and note buyers becomes, the more important or the more valuable you become as a broker. Your list is your superpower. So I say if you're going to take time to build those lists and build relationships with note sellers and note buyers, then I say there's a difference in brokering notes. You could flip notes or you could deal notes. And the difference is a broker never takes ownership of an asset. A broker is putting the note seller and the note buyer together, and if they do a transaction, they get paid a chunk, right? Just like wholesaling. And so I'm talking about you can do a difference of paperwork. If you found a note seller with a good note for sale and a note buyer, instead of putting them together and stepping aside and making a broker fee, I want to negotiate to buy the note from the note seller, do the paperwork into my name, and then resell the note over to a note buyer because there can be a much better spread for you or a little bit more money to be made than if you're just brokering, okay? Nope, I'm not Billy. I am not Billy Joel. I think my arms are a little bit bigger than Billy Joel's were. My physique's a little bit better, but Billy Joel was a handsome fella. Some people may say that I may look like Billy Joel. Oh, there's a mosquito hawk in here flying around. About ready to buzz me up. So, you guys, we got note brokering and we got note dealing, or basically note flipping. Right? And so it's the same kind of thing when people get into the physical or the traditional real estate investment world. People think getting into wholesaling is the way to go because they don't have a lot of money to invest. It's okay. I get it. So you can start the same way in notes, right? You can broker notes or you can flip notes. Very similar, difference in paperwork, difference in ownership liabilities, but more money to be made. So rather than broker, maybe you can flip notes instead. So there's two ways you can make money with notes where you don't even have to have your own money whatsoever, and you can make money with notes by not investing in them, but just by brokering them or by flipping them. Just like you can wholesale real estate, and just like you can do brokerage of real estate and things like that. So as there's a billion different ways to make money in the real estate or traditional real estate investing markets, there is a couple different ways that you can make money or monetize the paper side of the real estate business, okay? So we've got brokering and flipping. That's just like wholesaling, right? Wholesaling is almost like brokering, okay? And note flipping is just a difference in ownership, legal ownership. A broker never owns the asset. A note flipper is actually going to take ownership of the asset and resell it. It's different than brokering, okay? But both of those you can do by building relationships with note buyers and note sellers in the note space. That doesn't require you to have a bunch of money, but you can start making a bunch of money and you can start building relationships in the area of paper real estate investing, okay? Good stuff, good stuff. Now, then we say the third way to make money with the paper side of real estate is to be a note investor. A note investor is somebody that has accumulated enough of their own money to actually just go ahead and buy their own note. Okay, that would be a note investor. So we got brokering. You can broker notes, you can flip notes, and you can invest in notes with your own money. So number 3 is if you have money, cash, IRA, 401k, equity in your house, you're good like one of my audience members said just a few minutes ago. They're good at playing the credit card game and leveraging debt, right? 0% credit cards and things like this. So the point of the matter is, if you have access to your own capital, then you become a note investor because you're going to take your money and you're going to buy a note. Guys, every time I accumulate enough money from either windfall profits, cryptocurrency, upside, doesn't matter. Whenever I can accumulate enough money of my own, I always buy another note because the cash flow is the king. And every time I buy another note, I add more passive cash flow to my life for 20 or 30 years' time. So you can be a note investor, and that would be just like being a real estate investor, okay? If you finally was able to leverage, get enough money of your own to buy a rental property and stack another door into your portfolio. So being a note investor means you get enough cash, you get enough IRA, 401k money, whatever it is, and you're able to utilize your own money to buy assets. That's note investor, number 3. Number 4, let's see if I'm doing this right. So we got broker, we got dealer, we got investor. Let's talk about a pro. What's the difference between a regular real estate investor and a professional real estate investor? Is there a difference? If I were to label it that way, is there a difference, you think? A real estate investor versus a professional real estate investor. Why would we give the pro title? Do you have any idea? What would turn somebody from a real estate investor into a professional real estate investor? What the difference is and why we would give them a pro title? Well, I'll tell you what, a real estate investor has their own money and they're able to invest in real estate using their own money. A professional real estate investor, the reason why we'd give them the pro title is because these people have figured out how to invest in real estate using other people's money. So when you elevate yourself to a level in which you understand how to use OPM, right? We all heard OPM, other people's money. When you get to a point where you get good at the skill of leveraging other people's money, then you would become classified as a professional real estate investor. Not just a real estate investor. A real estate investor is usually investing with their own money. That's why they're called an investor, right? But a pro is able to invest in those assets, in that asset class, by utilizing other people's money. And other people, guys, is just anybody but yourself. So that could be banks, that could be private lenders, hard money lenders, and all sorts of different ways to leverage capital, depending on what you're doing, okay, and what makes sense. But that, I think, differentiates just a regular note investor from a professional note investor. So if we went into brokering, then we went into note flipping, Then we now go into note investing. Note investing was where people would use their own money, right? And then when they get to a pro status, a pro real estate investor, a pro note investor is able to get the pro title because professionally they're able to buy assets now on a more ongoing basis because they've learned how to utilize OPM, okay? Learn how to leverage other people's money in order to grow their portfolio. That, I think, then designates you as being a professional now. A professional real estate investor, a professional note investor. So we go from brokering and wholesaling to note flipping to note investing to now being a pro. Same kind of in real estate as you step up the scale. Eventually, if people want to scale a real estate portfolio or a note portfolio or anything else in the real estate world for that matter, generally they're going to need to raise capital from other people. You're going to have to raise capital from other people in order to scale it, okay? Like I always tell people, man, we're building a $6.5 million apartment building in Palm Bay, Florida right now. And trust me, my partner and I aren't writing checks out of our own checking account for $6.5 million. That's not how it works. We're able to get the apartment developed. We have a skill and a team that's valuable. And then other investors who have money will participate with us. In fact, we just got, I'll tell you a good one. We got a commitment last week. This should be hopefully motivation for you guys. I know it was for me. We got committed $1.4 million last week. Matter of fact, well, yesterday was 75,000 of it, but last week in 1 week, we got $1.4 million committed to us from investors in our network for what's going on right now. So the understanding of how to raise private capital is going to be huge for people that want to become a professional note investor or professional real estate investor. If you want to become a pro, you want to earn financial freedom, gather a very large portfolio of assets, then bringing in financial friends, we like to say, or financial partners into your real estate investing business is going to be very important for the growth of it. Andy says he built a $3 million gross sales per year business just by brokering paper for labels. Good relationships was the key. Exactly. We know, Andy, a broker's best superpower is their network. And if a broker has a very extensive network of sellers in that asset class and also has a very extensive network of buyers, being that you have a huge network of sellers and buyers, you become a valuable broker. Does that make sense? And it is all about relationships. So, hey, to take it to a pro level, guys, we're going to need to learn the skill of raising private capital, and we're going to need to leverage OPM in all sorts of different ways, but OPM, other money but your own, right, to scale. So that's being a pro in my mind. And then I'll tell you what you can do if you really want to. If you've gone and surpassed the brokering and the dealing of any asset class, whether it's traditional real estate or the paper side of real estate, how we play, but you got into wholesaling, you've built relationships with sellers and buyers in that industry, you're seeing deals go down, you're getting yourself in the mix, you're getting your education, you're understanding how to talk the talk, walk the walk in that industry and everything like that, and you're graduating up in there. Well, of course, then you're going to be confident enough when you have enough of your own money, whether it's cash or IRA, to go and buy yourself a note. Right? And every note you buy creates more and more financial freedom, more and more passive cash flow, more and more security, more and more net worth. Now, somebody may say then, if I know enough to build relationships with note buyers and note sellers, and I know enough and I'm educated enough to know how the transaction goes down, then why wouldn't I, right? You're asking yourself, why wouldn't I just, if a good note deal comes across my desk, why wouldn't I, if a good note deal come across my desk, why wouldn't I buy it? Right? So you would. And then if you knew how to buy a note, guys, if you knew how to buy a note, how to source a note, where to find one, how to do the due diligence, how the transaction takes place, how the paperwork goes down, and you knew how that goes down, now then, don't you have enough information to go and buy another one and another one and another one? You can put buying notes on repeat, right? But in order to go and buy more and more and more notes, we run out of our own liquidity very quickly. Don't you understand? So even somebody who comes to me with $100,000 or somebody comes to me with $300,000, when I first get started with them and they're sitting on 100,000, 200,000, 300,000, generally when we get them going, we're going to invest their $100,000 or their $200,000 or their $300,000, whatever the hell they came with. We're going to invest that money pretty quickly. So they're going to have some good cash flow coming in. They're going to own some assets, but no longer are they liquid. Remember, they ran out of their own liquidity. So to buy another $100,000 note, In order to buy another $100,000 asset, they can't. They ran out of their own money. Some of us just start there with no money, okay? But some people come into the game with like 100 grand and say, "Ooh, look at me, I'm starting with 100 grand," which is great. It's a head start over somebody that starts at zero for sure. But guys, somebody comes in with 100 grand and we can help them buy one note for 100 grand and their money's deployed and now they've got cash flow coming in, but no more liquidity. So how are they going to buy their next asset? The only way you buy your next asset and start to scale up the portfolio is you're going to start acquiring more and more assets using other people's money. That's the way to do it. So that's why I designate somebody as going from just a investor to being labeled as a professional investor. A professional in the industry, real estate or paper, wherever you want to play, that professional understands and knows how to raise OPM to scale the portfolio, straight up. Otherwise, you will not be able to scale a portfolio. Most of us don't have enough of our own money to do it. Okay? And mind you, when people do have enough money, guys, they still don't use their own money. Do you guys realize that? Like wealthy people that get into endeavors like building communities, building golf course communities, building skyscrapers, building these, when people get into building these things, guys, the person with the skills, the connections, and the political pull on getting the project going and getting it done is usually the most important factor. The money is the money that pushes it, right? But so having the skills, literally as corny as it is, having the skills pays the bills. Having the skills pays the bills. All right? So you become a pro because you learn how to leverage other people's money. Now, another way to make money in the note investing space is if you've gotten pretty good at all of that, where you've built some relationships with note sellers and note buyers, you understand how a transaction takes place, you've been around the industry long enough to where you talk the talk, walk the walk, you got the lingo, you know note sellers, you know note buyers. It's just the same relationships you'd have to get into building in the real estate space. If you were going to scale up and become wealthy or financially independent with real estate, same in the notes. So if you're doing all that and you're building the relationships and you have relationships with note sellers and note buyers, so you're able to broker notes when need be, you're able to buy them and trade notes as a note dealer or a note flipper, and you've got that game down. Maybe you've even bought one by now. Maybe you bought a $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 note just to buy one because you finally had enough liquidity and you bought a note. So you know the transaction, you know the due diligence, you know the paperwork, you know how these note transactions take place. You've built relationships in that. Then hell, stepping up a level would be to be a pro. And so now you can start leveraging other people's money and then acquiring these assets for yourself, making money up front, keeping a spread, creating passive cash flow, which of course enough passive cash flow coming in monthly sets us free financially, right? Retirement's not an age. Retirement is about enough passive cash flow per month that supports your lifestyle. That's retirement. So you don't have to be 65 to retire. You can retire as soon as you can get up to 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, whatever, how much money you need per month to afford a lifestyle you are enjoying. That's how much money you need. That's retirement. So the other way, guys, check this out, is you know that you can start a fund. So in real estate, many people over the past few years have been starting syndications. You guys realize that in traditional real estate, a syndication is a group of people being put together as investors to go after one endeavor, a specific endeavor, and often syndication is to buy an apartment building. Okay? So the operator will have an apartment building under contract, apartment building that they know they want to buy. It's a certain apartment building. They've already done the research on it. They've already done the due diligence on it. They understand the value add and how that asset may work out if things go properly over the next 5 years. So they'll raise a bunch of money from OPM, other investors, as a group. It's a syndication of a bunch of people investing to go and for one purpose, to buy an apartment building that has future value add capability so everybody can make money. Okay, that's syndication. Well, you can start a small note fund. All it does is cost a little time and a little money with the SEC, but you can start an investment fund regulated by the SEC. And you can become a fund manager. And this allows you to pool many people's capital, so you can raise money from all sorts of different people and pool the capital in one space to use for an endeavor. In the note investing space, I buy notes for cash flow, so my investors get secure cash flow. So it's a good secure cash flow play, but you can be a fund investor. You can start your own fund. I named my fund Everly May. My 7-year-old daughter, her name, Everly May. We named our fund after our family, after our daughter. So we have a family-run investment fund where we manage other people's capital at a higher level. So in order to scale a professional real estate investing business, the only way to scale a pro business that you already have going is to scale it, right? And to scale it is do more. And the only way you can do more is to have access to more capital, okay? So you can start an investment fund, and whether it's traditional real estate or mortgage notes, you can manage those funds for others if you have the expertise to do so, okay? So that's another way you can make money, and you can do the same in traditional real estate. So, yeah. Bojack, we don't cover you, man. We don't we don't give you 5 minutes of fame on here. We're just speaking back and forth about ways to make money in real estate, brother. I'm not scamming or asking nobody to buy anything. So maybe you ought to just chill out. It's so funny. But you can start your own investment fund. We had to start an investment fund in order to raise enough money to build the apartments in Florida. So maybe you might want to do that someday. So guys, we can go from brokering to flipping to wholesaling to investing with our own money to being a pro in this space and utilizing how to invest in other people's money. All right, Andy, we'll see you, buddy. Get to work. Yeah, no, and Bojack, I don't have a training course on how to help people become a fund manager. I just became a fund manager myself, and I think it's pretty cool. So I think that it's an opportunity for other human beings that maybe could become a fund manager at some point, okay? But you have to kind of grow up in the space, go through the levels to be able to obviously know enough and have a reputation enough to be able to be a fund manager. But you could be a fund manager of your own someday. A guy named Carlo that I worked with and still work with, but a guy named Carlo, I guess we've worked with for 4 years now, I would say. And Carlo came from a securities background. So he had a Wall Street background, trading securities on Wall Street. Carlo came to us, realized mortgage note investing was the bee's knees. He saw the value there, right? And Carlo, I think he's been in the note investing space with us and started as a green pea with a financial background from Wall Street about 4 years ago, I want to say. Maybe 3. But anyways, neither here nor there. Carlo came through and got into this, and in 4 years' time, or 3 or 4 years' time, became a fund manager, just like I'm saying. He worked his way through the ranks from the very beginning 3 years ago of just learning all this stuff, and now he runs, I think, a $20 million fund. Pretty cool. Bojack, I bought a note for $4,334 once, and I sold it for $7,000 like 6 weeks later. So it's not really the amount of money. Yeah, it's not the amount of money. And if you've been listening to this show, I guess one of my major points is it doesn't really matter how much money you have. Yeah, that's not the point. Yeah, Bojack's $700 in the bank account. Yeah, no, $700 in the bank account is going to pay your bills. That $700 in your bank account ain't going to do squat, but pay bills, right? So we need to keep that money. That's your money. But what we can do is we can learn skills. We can up our expertise in a certain asset class. That's free. It just takes hard work and a brain. But if you up your skill set and you get a very high skill level and you have a very high level of expertise in a certain asset class, you can then leverage other people's money. So it's not about how much money you have. You use it for gambling. Well, that's cool. Good luck with that. Good luck with gambling. Tell you what we need to do. See, Bojack, here's a different thought. I worked hard and I got some money, and then I try to gamble it and turn it into more. How about I worked hard to get some expertise, used other people's money to buy an asset that creates $700 a month of passive cash flow for me? Now, if I have $700 a month of passive cash flow coming in from an asset I own, do you realize now that I feel a lot more comfortable gambling that $700? If I lose the $700, I know there's another $700 coming right behind it on the 3rd next month. So the passive cash flow is the key. Passive cash flow can allow you more money to gamble if you'd like, but you're gambling house money, not your own money. How do you think I've built up a very good crypto portfolio? I have a nice little fatty crypto portfolio that's been going. I've been building it up since 2021. I started investing in crypto in 2021. And just building up the bag, right? But I don't really use my earned income to invest in crypto because it's volatile. It's sketchy. So I've used house money, yeah? So the cash flow that gets produced from my mortgage note portfolio, the cash flow that gets produced by the mortgage note portfolio, if I don't need all the cash flow coming from my mortgage note portfolio to pay my bills or live off the money, which I don't, I have active income and such already, but DCA, dollar cost average, all I've been doing is adding to my bag on a monthly basis for 4 years now, adding to my cryptocurrency portfolio. But I'm adding to that bag and building up my crypto bag with house money. I'm using money that gets coming from a different asset I already own. So I'm not using my hard-earned money to gamble. Your wife won't let you invest in crypto because you lost 50 grand on NFTs when those were hyped. Well, I wouldn't let you invest in crypto either, Bojack. If you lost $50,000 on NFTs, boy, that was a hype, right? Meme coin, NFTs, all this stuff futile going away. The big 5 will be in place, guys, like the Amazon and the Google of the world. You guys get how it goes. There's going to be the big 5 or the big 10 in crypto that are going to be the standouts. In my opinion, because I'm not a crypto expert nor a financial advisor, but in my opinion, I would say Bitcoin, XRP, Solana, XLM. There's a couple more. Maybe ADA. But in my opinion, there's a couple more cryptos that will be like the big 10. And that's kind of where I'm concentrating my money. I'm not going for big wins. I always thought if I could just accumulate, as a Warren Buffett person would tell you, it's not trying to time the market all the time, like with the gambling, right? And the NFTs and the hit the meme coins and then this. And the chasing the gambles, guys, loses us money. Proven. Chasing gambles, chasing hype, loses money for people most of the time, okay? More often than not. But long-term thought process. So when I started buying cryptocurrency in 2021, my thought process was, I'll see what all this is worth by 2029. So when I was buying crypto in 2021, I said, let's stack and see what it's all worth in 2029. So I had a fairly long-term outlook. So when the markets go up and down and they fluctuate and people are day trading and some people are getting wiped out and some people are killing it and some people, and they're making moves and watching charts and I don't do none of that. Stack the bag. Invest in cryptos or companies that you believe will be a part of the new financial infrastructure in the future. It's a good bet, right? I'm not looking for quick wins or get rich quickies. I'm looking for what will my crypto portfolio be worth in 2029? I'm curious. And right around 2029, I'm going to start making some moves. But a lot of this comes from, guys, me being able to build up like a crypto portfolio has to do with, first, I built up expertise in the mortgage note investing space. Okay, I built up a large expertise in the mortgage note investing space and how to find the notes, vet the notes, do the documentation, how to work with the investor, how to work with a loan servicing company, knowing the exit strategies, learning the financial calculator, so on. But that's all expertise that any of us can gain, and it's free to gain expertise, guys. Sometimes I pay for coaching, sometimes I pay for a mentor to speed things up. But if you pay for coaching, great, it'll speed things up. But if you don't pay for coaching, you could podcast, ChatGPT, books like Invest in Debt with Jimmy Napier that I keep recommending on here, people buy and read. But there's all ways to learn it. But you get your expertise up to a certain level, you become valuable now to people who do have money. Does that make sense? If you know how to get these assets, how to vet these assets, how to acquire the assets, how to manage the assets, how to exit, how to work profits, how to use the financial calculator, how to look out for future pitfalls that could be detrimental to the asset, all those different things, and you know all that, then you become pretty valuable to somebody that is an investor, that has money to invest. Whether you're a house flipper, wholesaler, syndicator, apartment investing, apartment builder, land, it doesn't matter. But in order to scale, your expertise has to shine so that people with money trust you with their money. And they know you know what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? So in that, guys, just like there's a billion different ways to skin the cat in traditional real estate and how you can make money in wholesaling, make money in flipping, make money with Airbnb, you can make money with Section 8, you can leverage other people's money and bank money in order to acquire more properties and so on and so on. Yes, so we understand there's different ways to skin the cat in the traditional real estate markets. There's also many different ways to skin the cat and how you may be able to start making extra money. You may be able to start setting yourself more financially free, have a side hustle or whatever that's less competitive than traditional real estate. That you can become a note broker and you can just be the intermediary between a note seller and a note buyer, and you can step aside and let the note seller and note buyer do a transaction, pay you a broker fee. That's only building relationships up, guys, and building a big network up, which would be your main job, is building relationships with note sellers and note buyers. The bigger that network becomes, the more valuable of a broker you become to both parties. So you can make extra side cash just putting together people, okay? That's note brokering. Get a broker fee. Now, if you get good at doing that, I would say, why not just be a note dealer? If you got good at building relationships with note sellers and note buyers, you're in the game, you talk the talk and the lingo and all that. Well, a broker fee is very insignificant. Broker fee is kicking you a few bucks because you hooked them up with the transaction. Now, if you were in that transaction, not as a broker, but as an investor, you were a note flipper, then my goal would be to buy the note from the note seller and then resell it to the note buyer by way of documentation and paperwork. By way of recording in county recorder's office, it would show that I became the owner of the asset. Then I resold it to somebody. I didn't broker. I bought it and owned it and then resold it. Just like if I bought a car and then a week later I sold it to somebody else. You owned the asset. So that would be note flipping or note dealing versus note brokering, right? And people get into brokering and people get into note dealing and that because it doesn't require any of your own money to do that, and you make some money in that. So people get into wholesaling, brokering, and these entry-level real estate positions to start stacking some capital. Because you think, man, in order for me to be an investor, in order for me to buy a rental property of my own, in order for me to go out and buy my own note, I got to have 30, 40, 50, 60 grand. Well, I don't have that money. So how do I get 30, 40, 50, 60 grand to be a note investor? I do things on the hustle. So I wholesale or I assign notes and flip notes and things like that. And I start to stack some cash and then I can buy my own note, right? Sure. So you can be a note investor, which is the third rung. A note investor is somebody that has enough of their own money, cash or IRA, to actually buy an asset of their own and own it outright and start creating that cash flow for themselves. That's a note investor. But I think even stepping up above that, we get into like the pro factor. The pro factor is a professional real estate investor or a professional note investor learns the skill of leveraging OPM to scale their portfolio. That's what I think differentiates just a regular real estate investor or a regular note investor from a pro. A pro is somebody that learns how to use other people's money. Good morning, Bethany. How are you? Kisses. Let's see, Joseph, you said, what's my thoughts on SLE, sober living environment housing? I like it. That's just another play in traditional real estate. I like it. Yeah. You've got sober living, you've got hospice, you've got Section 8, you've got all sorts of different angles of attack, right? And so that's kind of what we were paralleling today, is saying that, yeah, we know that there's different angles of attack in the traditional real estate markets, right? Even sober living. It's an angle of attack in traditional real estate. So what I was trying to get across today to everybody is just, hey, look, there's also a billion different ways to skin the cat in the paper side of real estate in note investing. Same. Yeah? But I think the paper side of real estate is much less competitive, and the paper side of real estate is a little bit easier because it literally is paper pushing. What's up, Poncho? Good to see you, brother. HBJ, good morning. Glad you guys are on. Pleasure. Always just trying to spit some knowledge, man. I'm always just trying to motivate and help people understand because, at 46 years old, guys, I've gone through it, man. I started being a salesperson when I was 15 years old. I started selling high-ticket investments to startup.com companies in a boiler room in La Jolla when I was 19 years old. When I was 21, I was selling high-ticket home remodeling. When I was 25, I started my own startup company. You know what I mean? I've been through it all, guys. I chased the traditional real estate. I did a live-in flip. I flipped the house I was living in, and I did all the repairs myself instead of hiring contractors because I had the time. So it's like, guys, I've been through it all. I've done everything there is to do, reinvent the wheel, invent, raise capital, start up companies, blah, 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 you name it. And when I found the paper side of real estate investing, I realized it's an unfair advantage. I mean, it just really is one of the best investment vehicles I've ever seen in 30 years of entrepreneurial endeavors and working with investors. It's crazy. Chance favors the prepared mind. Really good statement, Pancho. You're totally correct about that. Totally correct about that. So there's a good point, right, guys, in getting into the business. So I started just getting into the money business and notes and stuff in 2018. Prior to 2018, I was just working a full-time job like everybody else. Okay? Stuck the 8 to 7 grind, 8 o'clock in the morning to 7 o'clock at night grind, working 6 days a week as a sales manager, coming up into, and I was able to quit that in 2019-ish, 18, 19-ish. So in just a few short years, I've done quite a bit, guys, in this space. And so I'm just trying to teach you guys how you can come up in this space and how you can start making some extra money, guys. It's all about the extra money at first. It's good to have an extra $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 coming in on top of your existing income. It starts to give you a little bit of sense of freedom, maybe a little bit of relief in worrying about money so much. And the idea is, guys, that slowly but surely within a few short years' time, if you're willing to be able to give it that, in a few short years' time, you can dramatically change your financial outlook and where you're at financially and what your retirement looks like and all that stuff, guys, within just a few short years by doing some dedicated work on it, okay? So in that, guys, we can broker notes. We can be a note broker, and we can just put note seller and note buyer together and make a commission. We can be a note dealer, or what we might say a note flipper would be, where we're taking ownership, legal ownership of an asset, whether it's for a day, a week, or a month, but we're taking legal ownership of an asset and then reselling it to somebody else. That would be a note dealer rather than a note broker. Okay, so it's a little step above. Because a note dealer, every transaction is probably able to earn more money than more so you can earn more money than a broker, right? So a broker commission is sometimes minimal, but a note flip, you can make more of a spread. So it's very much the similar work of building relationships with note buyers and note sellers and getting yourself in the game a little bit, which takes a little bit of time. But you get yourself in the game, you start to surround yourself with note sellers and note buyers and build that network, then rather than just put them two together and step aside and make a broker fee, I figure you can actually buy and acquire the asset yourself and then resell it. And there's intricate ways to be able to do that, but you can make a little bit more money per transaction. So that's a good way to do it. If you have money, cash, IRA, 401k, equity in your house, and so on, then leverage is a good way. So you get leverage and you borrow money at a very cheap cost of capital, and then you deploy that and make the spread. So a note investor is one that's using their own resources or their own money to go and buy a note, and that's the third rung of the ladder. Fourth rung of the ladder is when you go from being a note investor, which is using your own money, to being a pro investor, where you're actually being able to buy assets leveraging other people's money. That's where I designate somebody as become a pro. You can start a business out of it, and you can become a fund manager. So at a certain point, guys, when you really understand the scaling of private capital, then becoming a fund and registering with the SEC to avoid any violations or legal complications. So you get a registered fund through the SEC. It may cost you $5,000, $10,000, $20,000, depends on the kind of fund you want to have set up. But an SEC lawyer and attorney will set you up the ability legally to raise money, to do whatever it is you want to do, whether it's notes, syndication, or what have you. Let's see. Gene, what do I use for free weights? You just got a Bowflex. I remember my stepfather, all of a sudden, was starting to get a little bit jacked. I was looking at my stepfather's forearms and this and that, and I was talking to him, my stepdad, and I said to him, hey, man, you're looking good, brother. You've been working out a little bit in that. And he goes, yep, I got the new Bowflex. And this was, years ago. But the Bowflex is a good tool, man. What's funny is I tell people the old Total Gym. Remember a Total Gym? Remember Total Gyms? Total Gym was like the original Bowflex, right? Total Gym was a really cool exercise machine, but like Total Gym and Bowflex and that stuff, guys, plenty enough for a home gym, especially if you're older like me and you're not doing ego lifting or trying to do max bench presses anymore, things like that. You're just trying to get in really good shape and exercise daily and that kind of thing. Dude, Bowflex is awesome. What I have is, I have some older weights still. So of course you see I have the York Olympic bar. I got some York Olympic bar, 45-pound plates. I have some other plates, guys, 2 sets of 25s, 2 sets of 10s, 2 sets of 5s, 45s, Olympic bar, so on. And then down in here, I've got the power blocks. You got your power blocks and some little chrome dumbbells, some ankle hangers, some things like that. So pretty simple home gym setup, guys. Got the pulley, got the racks, got the free weights, got the bar. I got a curl bar, dumbbells, just pretty much all that you need to keep yourself in good shape. It's a very simple little home gym. So, guys, I hope today helped a little bit. Just understanding there are ways to make money in notes. There are different ways to make money in notes, just like there's a different ways to skin the cat in traditional real estate. So you can wholesale real estate, you can broker notes, okay? You can get into house flipping or you can flip notes, okay? You can invest in real estate to maybe buy a rental property, but you can also invest into a note and create passive cash flow for yourself without the ownership headaches. And then when people want to scale their business, once you've got good at real estate investing, once you've gotten really good expertise-wise at house flipping or notes, okay, whatever it may be, whatever your angle of attack is, then you should learn how to leverage other people's money. It's the way we can scale faster, okay? Oftentimes, even when we start with money, we invest our money, and now we're out of liquidity. So the next deal that we're going to buy after we've already ran out of our own money, the next deal is impossible unless we learn how to raise other people's money. So being a pro note investor or a pro real estate investor means you've learned how to leverage OPM to scale your portfolio. In my opinion, makes you a pro. And at some point, guys, you may want to get into maybe even a fund manager where you start a small fund or a syndication and you raise money from a lot of other people at a larger scale to go and do a larger endeavor. But there are different ways to skin the cat. So as it would be in traditional real estate, lots of different ways to play. As it would be in the mortgage note investing space, lots of ways to play, okay? One is a little bit different than the other. Excuse me. Ooh, excuse me. Get a drink there. The difference is that I do believe, based on true experience, that the note investing space is a much smaller space. The note investing space is much less competitive. The note investing space doesn't have all the Pace Morbies of the world playing in that space. So I get away from the pack, get into an industry that's a much smaller niche industry that if you can get good at it, it has a lot of opportunity there, versus I think a lot of the real estate is a little bit washed out and everybody and their uncle and brother and grandfather is trying to wholesale or trying to be a house flipper or whatever. In the note space, a lot of people you'll talk to don't even know what you're talking about. When you talk about buying a mortgage note, they say, what are you talking about? I don't even know what that is. So it's a big difference of everybody knows what it is and everybody's trying to do it versus over here, which is a smaller niche spot that most people don't even know about. Different game for competition. So I think it's less competition. It's easier because I'm not playing with physical real estate. I'm playing with paperwork. So we play with notarizations and recordings in county recorder's office. So we're paper pushers. Real estate acts as our collateral. So we have fail-safe, we have collateral, we have an equity position, we have passive cash flow monthly coming in from real estate without the ownership headaches. Okay, we can broker notes, we can flip notes, we can invest in notes, we can leverage other people's money to acquire a larger portfolio of notes. I think the whole point is here, you guys get it, is that we have the traditional real estate game over here. We have the note or the paper side of real estate over here. Two different endeavors. One is focused on actual physical real estate and one is focused on control and cash flow. So as you can think about it, banks, they don't own rental properties, and banks aren't out there flipping dilapidated houses. So banks are not owning rental properties, and banks are not out there flipping dilapidated houses. We are, but banks are pretty good at making money. So a bank would be, fair to say, a bank would not want to own 4 million rental properties. Anybody tell me why? Chime in. Can anybody tell me why a bank would not want to own 4 million rental properties? Gene, I like using free weights, man. I like using free weights. I have the pulley system up here. I have the pulley system and benches over here, so I can turn this system into a Bowflex if I want to. But why would a bank not want to own, why would a bank not want to own 4 million rental properties? Question.
Thank you, Sherry. I appreciate that, but I don't know if I'll be taking my shirt off today. But we're just talking about financial freedom here and giving people a little insight on how they can use the paper side of real estate versus the traditional side of real estate to do the same thing and to build wealth and passive cash flow and financial freedom. I just so happen to think the paper side of real estate is less competitive. And I so happen to think that the paper side of real estate is easier, to be honest, because we're pushing paper. Okay. And then the ownership liability goes away because you understand as soon as we take ownership liability of a physical property, we have the liability completely. Liability of yard maintenance, upkeep, anything that happens on that property from theft, anything else, you name it, guys, you're liable for all that. So when we're a landlord and we own the property, we have all that liability. When you're in the paper side of real estate, being smart like banks, right? Because banks won't own 3 or 4 million rental properties. You know the headache that would come with? Can you imagine a Wells Fargo bank owning 4 million rentals and how many out of 4 million are going to call on a daily basis because a toilet has a leak or something happened or whatever? It's nuts, right? The rain happened. The roof has had a leak now. Guys, it's too much to deal with. So to have 3 or 4 million rental properties wouldn't make sense. It just wouldn't make sense. But a bank like that can have 3 or 4 million mortgages on the books. So a bank can have 3 or 4 million mortgages on their books, collecting that monthly passive cash flow from those pieces of real estate all over the country without the ownership liability. They have a homeowner living there. So the homeowner who's living there, the toilet breaks, it's the homeowner's problem. The roof leaks, it's the homeowner's problem. It's a homeowner. They just hold the debt. So if they own the mortgage paper, they own the mortgage note, they have the property as their collateral, but they don't have the hassles of being a landlord. So yeah, a bank could own 3 or 4 million mortgages and have just this beautiful cash flowing portfolio, whereas a bank owning 3 or 4 million rental properties and dealing with 3 or 4 million tenants and upkeep and liability of those properties by way of ownership, no way, Jose. So all I'm saying, guys, is that this may be a way you want to look at it, and you may want to maybe read some books, Invest in Debt by Jimmy Napier. Yeah, of course, I have a program. I don't push the program on people. People know I run Note Investor University, where I teach people how to invest in paper, not property. I think it's a pretty cool way to do it. Changed my life completely, helped my family and I become financially free. Okay? And we're building and building and building and building. So once you taste a little bit of financial freedom, you guys, and let me ask you this. Do you think an extra $200 a month, an extra $300 a month, an extra $500 a month, and not talking about getting rich, not talking about Lambos, not talking about mansions, not shining our Louis Vuitton shoes and all this other stuff, not like that, guys, not the Instagram flash. I mean like the real Patrick to you, normal conversation with a normal guy that has financial freedom finally after 46 years of life, trying every damn endeavor from selling venture capital, sales, my own startup company, you name it, guys. I've been through it all. And I've tried it all. I haven't been one of those sit on the sidelines W-2 guys ever since I was like 19 years old. I've always tried to be an entrepreneur. And trust me, reinventing the wheel is difficult. Following the money and understanding smart money and following that is not difficult. We're not reinventing the wheel here, guys. The secondary mortgage market has been in place for a long ass time. They created the secondary mortgage market so that banks could offload paper. Banks could sell their paper to the secondary mortgage market to get capital back in place to go redeploy capital again. Okay? So this has been going on for a long time. Nothing new under the sun whatsoever, guys. It's just that we can play in it, and most people don't know that they can play in the paper side of real estate because it's not spoken about. There's no home and garden television shows because pushing paper and getting things notarized and recorded is not quite as flashy as breaking cabinets down with a sledgehammer and so on a TV show. So guys, this is the way that is easy. It can be somewhat boring, but good boring, right? It's easy, it's boring, it creates passive cash flow, security, collateral. You back into owning real estate by owning the paper sometimes. And so I own some real estate across the country right now and turned it into a rental property. So I have a tenant in there. But there's all sort of different exit strategies. The point of the matter is, guys, there's many ways to skin the cat in traditional real estate. From wholesaling to flipping to Airbnb to co-living to Section 8 to you name it, guys, right? There's a billion different ways to skin the cat in traditional real estate. My point was, guys, to you today that there's a billion different ways to skin the cat and to earn some extra money and to monetize the note investing space or the paper side of it. And to me, it's less competitive, it's easier, it's pushing paper versus traditional real estate and all the headaches that come along with it. So I hope that was helpful today, guys. Just a little bit of nug for you, some nuggets. But it's what I do now. Instead of chasing traditional real estate, instead of stacking more and more doors, again, which is a headache, which is why a big bank would not own 3 million rental properties, but they would own 3 million mortgages. Okay? So why wouldn't I think, why don't I be more like the bank? It's pretty smart, right? Pretty smart. Rather than have the ownership liability and rather have to worry about chasing rents from tenants and getting the toilet calls and all this other garbage that comes along with this liability of ownership, banks got it down right, man. They control the real estate. They control it. They don't own it. They control the real estate. They get passive cash flow monthly from real estate without the headaches of ownership. And they have upside, guys. They have the property as collateral. And as that property goes up in value, your collateral goes up in value. And so if anything ever goes wrong, you have the ability to take back the real estate, guys, because of course, as a lender, the real estate is your collateral. So the bank will take your house if you don't pay them. So it's a pretty good investment opportunity. Like I said, there's a bunch of different ways to skin the cat. So we'll be back here tomorrow, guys. We're going to do another workout, physical and financial fitness with Patrick. All my resources are down below. If you're getting good value out of this, hit the subscribe button. We'll come in here and we'll work out 6:30 to 8 a.m. Pacific time, and we're going to chat. We're going to chat about different ways to create financial freedom, passive cash flow, wealth, leverage, and all those good things, guys, because I do believe, truly in my heart, I do believe that this whole 40-40 plan of working 40 hours a week for 40 years of our lives is hogwash. We've been sold the plan for 3 generations now. We all bought it up. Things are changing, guys. The old 40-40 plan and then planning on having your 401k or your IRA retire you wealthy at 65 years old is dead. So we have to do some new things. And in my opinion, gathering assets that are easy to manage, they're collateralized, and they spit off passive monthly cash flow is a true way to gain financial freedom. And any of us can do it, and it can happen within a few short years. If you're willing to give it a few short years, and guys, I mean 2 years, 3 years, 4 years time, okay, 2, 3, 4 years time, we know how fast 2, 3, 4 years goes by. Boom, just like that. But within the next 2, 3, or 4 years time, you could completely flip your life upside down financially for the better, okay? And it all starts with passive cash flow. So the very first deal I did when I got into the note space, the very first deal I did leveraging other people's money, I made $37 per month passive cash flow off that deal. Not a big deal, huh? I get it. Somebody, $37 a month. What does that cover? Netflix? But the point is, yes. The point is, yes. So when I did my very first deal with OPM, I was only getting $37 a month net from that deal. But it was the learning curve of being able to do a deal with somebody else's money, have one other individual on the planet trust me with their investment capital, me go out and do what I do with my expertise, and acquire the note. Now, because I acquired that note and did the work up front one time, I made $37 a month, and I forget how long we were in that asset, guys. But I made $37 a month every single month on the 3rd. Mailbox money, $37 a month coming into my account every single month for I think like 3 years. And then we finally sold that asset and my partner wanted out. But for 3 straight years, I made $37 a month net. It's not a lot. It doesn't sound like a lot, but that was the first deal, right, with OPM. And that was the first stepping stone to go, hey, I got this, I can do this, okay? And then put that on repeat. Now, of course, some of the deals I've done have created $400 or $500 a month in passive cash flow for myself by doing the deal. But the first deal I did was $37 a month. My point to you is this: it did start paying a bill. It did take my Netflix bill or my whatever bill you can think of that's $37 a month that you consistently spend all the time every month. But that $37, most of us are spending time and energy and trading time of our lives and working our asses off for that $37 so that then we can go spend it on the Netflix bill. Does that make sense? So when I did that one deal in the very beginning, my first deal I did leveraging other people's money. So I did a deal with somebody else's money, right, for the first time. My cut was only $37 a month, but I made $37 a month passively for like 3 or 4 years before we got out of that asset just by doing that work up front once. So the lesson then says, can we put that on repeat? Can you just go buy another note? Can you find another private lender? Can you go buy another note? Can you put this on repeat and buy more and more notes? And for each one of these notes you buy, it adds another layer of passive cash flow coming in monthly. Does that make sense? So there's only so many acquisitions or so many transactions you need to do in this space to where you can really attain financial freedom. For some people, that's $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month, $6,000 a month, whatever it is you need to make to afford your lifestyle, pay your rent, pay your mortgage, pay your car payment, groceries, food. People that retire at age 65 years old are hoping that they have enough monthly income to support their lifestyle. If they have enough monthly income to support their lifestyle, they retire. But why do we have to wait till we're 65? Can't within the next 2 or 3 or 4 years of our lives, can't we build up to $3, $4, $5, $6,000 a month passive cash flow by doing one of these transactions every now and again? Get your expertise up to a certain level and just start acquiring some notes? Certainly you can. So can we get to retirement within just a few short years? What's up, NJ? Good to see you. Bank of Poncho. Exactly, guys. I'm just taking a look at these comments. What's up, Bree? Good to see you. Oil of oregano for the coughing. Thank you, Poncho. Yes, HBJ, we're in the money game. We are in the money game. Yeah. So you guys get it, man. That's just the facts. The facts are that if we create enough passive cash flow now, we can retire now. We don't have to wait till we're 65. The hope is that by 65 years old, people have accumulated enough money in a retirement account and such to live off of. Okay? If you have enough passive cash flow coming in now to live off of, you can retire. You don't have to wait till you're 65 years old, if that makes sense, right, guys? So I'm a very big advocate of why don't we just try to do something? My first deal created $37 a month of passive cash flow for me, and that $37 a month coming in monthly without having to do work again for it was a lesson in saying now I don't have to work anymore to pay for the Netflix bill. Now I don't have to work anymore to pay for whatever bill it is, right? I probably spent $37 a month in golf balls because I play golf a lot, right? I probably spent $37 a month in golf balls. So I didn't have to pay for my golf balls anymore. I didn't have to work to buy golf balls anymore. My golf balls were now off house money. That was my thought process. Does that make sense? So then you go do another deal. And I think my next deal, I was making like $180 a month from the next deal. So now you've done 2 deals, right? I did my first deal, I was making $37 a month from it. I did a second deal, I was making like $180 a month from it. So now I had over $200 a month passive cash flow coming in every month without working for it. It was just coming in. Those 2 deals. $200 per month coming in, guys, now was paying a real bill. It was paying a real bill. I was like, whoa, whew. And then you do the third one. My third deal was like another $180 or $200 a month coming in. So now I got 3 deals under my belt. In my first 3 months of doing this, I got 3 deals under my belt. One's making me $37 a month, one's making me $180, and one's making me $200. So now you got $410, $420 a month coming in passively. Now you're seeing it starts to seem a little sexier, doesn't it? So I did 3 transactions. Put those transactions to bed. Don't have to work more to get the money coming in anymore. The work's done. I own those assets, and people tend to pay their mortgage payments. So when I got those 3 first assets, guys, in my first 3 months of doing this, one of them was $37 a month, one of them was $180 a month, and one of them was $200 a month. 200 plus 180 plus 37. Guys, I had like $420 a month coming in passively now. Pretty cool, right? Yeah, in Poncho, I made $16,000 in those 3 years with that deal, right? That's correct. So you guys see that it was like the first deal, no big deal. The second deal, it's just starting to be cool. And the third deal, I'm going, man, this is getting pretty sexy. I now have $420 a month coming in passively. That $420 a month coming in passively was paying now for my car insurance, man. It was paying now for my whole monthly grocery bill or whatever you can think of that you're spending the money on. But I knew that now I didn't have to go work and trade time and energy this week again or this month again for that $420. That $420 was coming in passively. So you're going, damn, this is really sexy. Now can you put this on repeat? Certainly. So I say for most individuals, you guys, it may take 20 or 30 assets to become completely financially free and retire. If you think of 20 or 30 assets, then let's say that even with a full-time job and even busy with family and all that stuff, could we somehow, if we got our expertise up to a certain level and learn how to raise private capital, could we acquire 1 mortgage note per month? It just means in a month, you have to find somebody that would be a private lender to your business. That's a piece of work. You got to go find some human being on the planet that would invest into your real estate investing business with you. So you got to find somebody, private lender. Okay? Then you got to locate an asset and buy it. So if you found a private lender and you located an asset and bought it, Could you put that on repeat? And if you just did one transaction per month, and for most people, it takes 20 to 30 assets to achieve financial freedom or retire. So if you did one asset per month, does that really truly say that within a 2 to 3 year time period, you can become financially free in this game? Even if you're only starting with $700 in your bank account. That's the truth. It can happen. So that's why I preach it a lot, guys. It's changed my life quite a bit. And most people, again, don't even know that the paper side of real estate exists. Everybody's over here doing wholesaling, flipping, Airbnb, the Gator method, Pace Morby, you name it, right? Everybody. You take most of those people and you tell them that this over here exists. Most people don't even know that mortgage note investing exists. So does that create a great opportunity for us? If you were smart enough to start listening to me and get on this show in the mornings and come on my YouTube, you're getting the juice. You understand that there's a whole nother side of real estate investing that is very fruitful and less competitive. So let's get it, guys. We can wholesale, we can flip notes, we can buy notes with our own money, we can leverage OPM, we can invest, we can become a fund manager and scale. There's all sorts of different things you can do in the game. But the point is, I think it's a very good game to make money. So maybe you ought to get into it. All right. So maybe you go the podcast, read the books, Invest in Debt by Jimmy Napier. There's great podcasts out there. There's YouTube channels like mine and my partner, and there's so much free information out there. Go learn it. We do have a community if you want to join it. All my resources are usually down in the description of the video. I don't think I put a description in this video for today. So I'll have to redo that. But if you always look, my resources for people are in there. If you're looking for information on how to self-direct your IRA so you can do alternative investments, my IRA company's down there. They're just a referral of mine. I'm not making money or nothing like that. Those guys are just a good company. I refer people to them if you want help with your retirement accounts. We have a trust attorney in place that'll do you a family trust, a dynasty trust, all these good things. There's all sort of ways, guys, that I offer resources to people that want to start changing their life financially, putting together a really good financial infrastructure for themselves and family. So if you want to earn more cash flow, build more assets, build more net worth, more leverageability, and you want to put things in trust so that your children, your grandchildren are well taken care of when you're long gone, this is the kind of things that we help with and the kind of things that we preach. And at the same time, y'all know, if I can motivate people in two different ways, that's why somebody would show up to this live 6:30 to 8 a.m. Pacific time here on YouTube, is two different things. One is I just want to help people be motivated to be in their best physical shape they can be in. Not comparing yourself to others, not worrying about your health, where you're starting, your condition, your age. I think that we all have the ability, with a little time and concentration, to literally start to change our physical health. Okay? So men and women out there, if you're trying to lose weight, you're trying to, get a little bit more jacked, look better, whatever it may be, just be more healthy, more flexible, more energy for your kids, those kinds of things. If I could be a motivation for somebody to get in their best physical shape they can be in, that makes me happy. I don't sell fitness programs. I'm not a fitness influencer. You get it? I'm just a guy that wants to help motivate people to be in their best physical shape they can possibly be in, because that's a damn good thing in life. And the other thing, guys, is financial freedom. So we talk about physical and financial fitness here on this channel in the mornings on these lives, because I believe physical fitness, physical health, having energy, looking better, feeling confident, all those different things is very important in life. And I also think that financial freedom is very important in life. So those are the two things we generally like to talk about here. So if I can motivate you to get in really good physical shape or really good financial shape, and I can help you learn something, I can help guide you, I can help you change your mindset in some way that is for the positive, then that is my wish. So I appreciate you guys. I really love when there's participation on here and you guys participating in the chat and comments. It keeps it very interesting. We get to talk about a lot of great things together. So I really do appreciate all of you for showing up, and I'm going to let you get to the rest of your week here. Happy Wednesday. Middle of the week. Hopefully you're having a great week and you're going to finish this week off strong. If you guys want to work out with me tomorrow morning, get motivated physically, if you guys want to come talk passive cash flow and how we can create financial freedom for ourselves, show up tomorrow. I'll be right back here, 6:30, 8 a.m. Pacific time, same place, same channel. We'll see you guys later. Ciao.